Well, thank you all for coming today. Please help yourself to all the delicious food that was ordered. So we decided today we'd do a bit of a panel presentation. So I will get started, and I'm trying to keep the research piece a little bit short because I think these ladies are far more interesting than I am. So we'll get started here. So for today, we're just going to do a quick intro to the panel, an overview of the research that we've all been engaged in, and then a brief discussion on what trauma balance informed physical activity looks like. And then for the rest of the presentation, we're hoping to do it a bit like a Pechakucha style. So we're going to go through, and everybody's just going to talk to the slides to share a little bit about the program. And then we're hoping at the end to just have a discussion to open it up to the audience to address any questions. So my name is Francine Darroch. I am a postdoctoral fellow in the School of Nursing. I was with CRiHHI for 2 years with Colleen and Annette, and I'm now currently working with John Owen.
Hello, I'm Robin. I'm an Aboriginal Infant Development Consultant and North Fraser Regional Advisor with the YWCA CRiHHI. I'm part Cree and I'm part Scottish from Treaty 6 territory in Edmonton.
I'm Lisa. I'm a volunteer and a participant at CRiHHI Corner, and I'm a mom of 4 boys. I'm Jessica. I'm also an Aboriginal infant development consultant at CRiHHI Corner, and been working with Francine as an RA.
And I'm Michelle. I work on the advisory board, or help with the advisory board for this group, and am a client at CrowdTree.
And Michelle also has her little guy here, so if there's some baby squawks, feel free to volunteer some snuggles for him. So the goal of this community-based research project was to understand community members' perspectives on physical activity, so both barriers to and enablers of physical activity. And then to understand if a trauma and violence informed approach to physical activity would support women in being more physically active. And then to determine if, if engaging in physical activity programming would support women in achieving overall health improvements. So why is this research a priority? We know that women living in marginalizing conditions have significantly lower levels of recreational physical activity and face multiple barriers when they attempt to engage in activity. And of course, physical activity is often neglected in terms of an area to address health inequities. Jessica.
Oh, sure. So the downtown Eastside is pretty notorious in terms of its policies and practices around harm reduction. But what often goes underreported is how many families are down there. The block of the 500 block of Hastings Street, where Crabtree and Chiway sit, is full of families and kids going to daycare, going to appointments. And lots of people live in the neighborhood and go to the school close by. At Crabtree, we offer a really wide variety of services around food security and parenting support. We do infant development. There's a daycare and housing on site. But what we noticed is that there isn't a lot around physical wellness. So there's this gap in services that we wanted to address. And in our partnership with UBC, we did do a scan of the neighborhood to see what kind of services were existing that were appropriate for pregnant and parenting women. And they all lack childcare, cost a lot of money, or we're outside of the neighborhood and we're pretty inaccessible.
So we had three key phases to our research. As Jessica mentioned, in the first phase, we conducted key informant interviews with people that provide services in the downtown Eastside. We had focus groups with community members and women that lived or accessed services. And then we conducted an environmental scan and recognized that the programs didn't actually meet the women's needs, and they were like quite inaccessible because they didn't, either financially or because they didn't offer childcare services for women, or they didn't feel comfortable going to community centers for whatever other reasons. So then in phase two, I'll briefly go over them. Talk about methods here. So in terms of the overall research approach, again, I said I was going to keep this part short because I think it'll be more interesting to open it up to the panel. But we used intersectionality to guide our work, and you can excuse my beautiful artistic skills here. Hope my research is better than my art. So we had a mixed methods approach. So throughout the three phases, there were surveys, semi-structured interviews, focus groups, and we had some anthropometric measures, so weight and blood pressure. So again, phase one was the community scan, really getting an understanding of what was happening in the downtown Eastside, and that's actually where I connected with Jessica and Robin. They were both key informants in the study, and then said, we want to get involved, we want to make this happen. So it was a really nice progression from there. And then in phase two, what we did was we worked on a lot of like knowledge translation, creating resources. We have some up here if you're interested after, and piloting a walking program. So we wanted to see if women would come. So in our focus groups, we heard women say loud and clear that they wanted programming and they wanted resources, they just weren't available to them. So the idea of a walking group came from community members, and we were able to get some donations of gently used shoes and gear, and create that walking program led by Robin and Jessica. And we saw that everybody kept showing up, so we decided to apply for further funding to continue that. At the same time, we also did some asset mapping. So we have some booklets somewhere up here to look at what programs were being offered. Because again, we didn't see the need to reinvent the wheel. We just wanted to enhance services that already existed so that women could attend. And then we also jumped on the work of EQUIP, the EQUIP study where they created an equity toolkit. So we tailored the trauma and violence informed care within healthcare settings to be more appropriate to physical activity in community centers. So a lot of these resources are here. And without getting sort of too deep into all of this, because I'm happy to chat with people after, we built our physical activity program on the four key concepts from trauma and violence informed care. So again, it's trauma awareness, emphasis on safety, including cultural safety, foster choice and collaboration, which I think through this community-based approach, it was a really natural thing to do, to have the community members create the programming. And then work from a strengths-based and capacity-building approach. So why do we need trauma and violence informed physical activity? I think one of our community members sort of says it best here. So women have gone through trauma, addiction, things like that. I think there's a lot of issues around self-confidence. I mean, when it comes down to your body, your parenting, you feel like you're constantly being watched or judged. That internal feeling is always there. It's hard to get over. So being inclusive of those women and letting them know there's no judgment, there's no shame, no blame. If you want to come work out, work out. So what we were hearing from the women is that they wanted programming that was trauma and violence informed. So we were very fortunate to receive funding from both the Women's Health Research Institute and a Vancouver Foundation grant to create and implement the walking program on a larger scale. So we currently have 34 women that are active in our study. In addition to the women that are taking part in the research and the programming, any women in the community are welcome to come to any of the activities that are offered. So 80% of the women identify as Aboriginal, 80% live in public, social, or supported housing. On average, have given birth to 3.5 children. 91% feel discriminated against in the last few months. And, you know, we would say 100% of the women are amazingly resilient. Jessica, I don't know if you want to talk to this piece of the community developed intervention.
Sure. When I started at CRiHHI in 2015, one of the first kind of things I wanted to do was like a walking group or a baby boot camp kind of thing. I wanted to provide that opportunity to get outside and move as a group, but I also knew there were I anticipated some of those barriers, and I also didn't know the women that well, and I needed to develop kind of that relationship and trust first. So yeah, when we met Francine, it was kind of this beautiful, you know, kind of dreams coming true. So we started with the weekly walking group because, like we said, it was the first thing the women said they wanted. And we were able, we'll kind of cover a lot of these in the Paquette.
Yeah, sure.
We were able to provide shoes and sports bras. We also do monthly newsletters to try and let people know what's coming up. I text everybody the morning of to encourage them to come via emojis mostly. The women had talked about wanting bi-weekly info sessions, which Kelsey came to, and the dynamics are a little bit tricky, and we're still kind of working on how to get that going, make that happen. And I think a really cool thing is that we've been able to do monthly introductions to various activities, which we can show you through some images in the Paquette. Yeah, anything I missed?
No, that's good. Yeah, and I think we'll sort of get to a lot of
we'll get to
the context. So for the research piece of it, we had our community advisory board support us in deciding sort of what to ask and when to ask. So we currently have our baseline 3-month and ongoing 6-month assessment points. And we've decided to add a 12-month. We originally were going to just do 6 months, and then the funding that we have was dedicated to continue the programming to ensure sustainability of it within the downtown Eastside. But as a lot of the feedback we've been getting from the women is that they really appreciate that time to check in and let us know and give us feedback. We've also taken those assessment points as an opportunity to ask like what's working and what's not, and we've been really adaptable in terms of what and how we offer the programming. So that the results are all ahead, able to come. So again, I mentioned we've had a community advisory board that's been involved throughout the entire research project, and they're a really fun group of women. And I think this is probably a good point to turn it over to Michelle to talk about that.
Okay. So I guess I kind of got involved by attending one of the focus groups, and I met Francine, and I found that just in that focus group already, I felt a lot of times you go to focus groups for programs that people want to like introduce to community or neighborhood, and they don't really actually listen. And I found that Francine was super responsive to what we were saying. And then I joined the advisory board after that, which is actually how I started attending the walking groups and the other activities that we had. For the advisory board, I think it's a part that might be often overlooked, but I actually think it's quite an important piece to this, because you can put together all the ideas you have about, like what Jess was saying, she had these great ideas when she first started working for CRiHHI, but without the participants co-signing the ideas or being interested, there's really not a great chance of it succeeding. So I think that the advisory board and the meetings and the ongoing check-ins have actually probably really helped to continue growing the popularity of the program.
Okay, so we are recycling a Pechacucha. I made a few weeks ago, but these guys are gonna hop in. I want to take a really quick second to acknowledge the ancestral territory of Coast Salish people, and we're so grateful to be here. So this is a attempt at walking folks through a walk. A lot of the images, especially the really beautiful images you'll see, are from, we're filming a mini documentary. So some of the photos are from our friend and documentary documentator, Jen Morenz, I think that's how you say her name. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I started working with Francine in like early 2017. And I've always been really apprehensive about research in the downtown Eastside. I come from a women's studies background, so pretty critical. But I've been through Francine's approach and through community-based research. We've really seen some really beautiful things happen because of the participatory nature of this research. It's been a really amazing opportunity to highlight voices and share experiences. And yeah, add. No? Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is a picture of Francine because she really has, every conversation starts with like, how's it going? How are you? Thank you for the work you do. So really, if her heart wasn't in it, it wouldn't really look like it is today.
Sounds like I'm paying them to say.
I mean, I'm getting paid. Yeah, so the program includes month-long introductions to different activities around the community. We try to keep it nice and close. But the walking group really is the true heart and soul of the program. It's the first thing the women said they wanted, and it really remains kind of our most popular and most consistent. I think it's also the most sustainable. Like we've been walking for well over a year, and I can see it kind of continuing on and on and on. If you guys agree. We head out every Friday at 10, and we walk to one of 3 different parks. But we gather in the kitchen of Crabtree Corner, where women and children are already coming to have breakfast. Sometimes we bring music, and then we bring a carafe of coffee, like Starbucks or McDonald's, something kind of nice. And women get 2 bus tickets and a $10 gift card every 3 times they come. The incentives have been, I think, a really important part of the group. It's been a little tricky at times, but the coffee is, I think it's a draw. Yes? Yes. Yes.
I think it's also a good way, I think you probably touch on this later, but it's a good way to gather the group, right? Everyone's there and it gives us a chance to sort of get settled enough for everyone to be ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. And before the walk starts, we try to do little mini check-ins just to see how people are doing that day, in case we need to take any kind of special care as we head out into the neighborhood. Also, just like, how's your week going, and how did this go? Blah blah blah. And maybe Robin can speak to this too. It's really changed the way we've been able to do one-on-one work with clients. Because we're not therapists, we're not counselors, but people really change the way that they share when they're moving and they're not face-to-face, when we're both kind of looking in the same direction.
Yeah, I think our program that we work out of at Crabtree is very special and unique because we get time to build these relationships with our families and get to know their kids and partners or co-parents, things like that. So I find I learn a lot about people when we're driving somewhere or like on our way to an appointment or things like that. So I think that a lot of work is getting done when we're on these walks as well, like things that people bring up or share that they wouldn't share face-to-face in an office. So it's pretty neat. And we've also had the opportunity to invite other staff in our building, as well as other service providers from the community if they want to come with us. So it's a good way to kind of network and build relationships with other people as well.
And I think for like the participants, on that note, it removes some of the like triggers for trauma or anxiety that may be present for meeting with, because lots of us have to sit down in offices to discuss things with MCFD or like different community organizations, and sometimes just coming into an office to sit down for somebody to have to ask for something or like a service that's already provided can be quite difficult. So I think that also for the clients and participants, it's really helpful.
Disconnected from the
Yeah,
institution.
totally disconnected.
More comfortable situation.
Yeah.
So we encourage and invite participants to bring their children along. In fact, I'm usually disappointed if their kids are in daycare and they're not coming, like Lisa's son. We learned early on that childcare is a major barrier for women to engage in physical activity. And it's been a really great opportunity for us to kind of help teach and role model and provide opportunities for positive parenting. There are several parks in the neighborhood, but kind of getting to the park can be challenging, and leaving the park can be really challenging. And we see what I'm always kind of looking for is this aunting, so where moms are kind of stepping in and helping one another, and if someone can't get their kid off the playground, like auntie probably can, and so really kind of like rebuilding family and remaking family through these kind of connections has been really fun to watch. Yeah, do you want to tell you that? Like we were talking earlier about, there's a lot of peer-to-peer parenting support. So 4-year-olds, that tantrum, when we're almost home, and then they see another parent whose toddler is tantruming at this same point. There's this kind of like, oh, me too, like this is normal, like you'll get through it kind of thing. That's been a really amazing and powerful thing to see. So we try to be really, really consistent. We walk rain or shine, and we have pretty set carved out routes, although now everybody's going rogue and changing. At this Pachacucha, I was like, yes, we take the same carefully selected routes, and then the next Friday, I was at the back and they went a totally different way. I was like, oh, okay. But I think the predictability and the consistency of the program has been really crucial for its popularity, and knowing, because people can be apprehensive about coming, but if they know that we're always going, then they know at one point that they can kind of come.
Or meet us along the way. Lots of people live in the neighborhood and can they'll be like, oh, I'll join you at the corner of Or I'll meet you at the park. Or,
Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah. And that people can come late to these kinds of things, which I think they appreciate. And a lot of the women have pretty complicated relationships with the neighborhood. So walking in these groups can kind of be a way of reinscribing ways of being in the neighborhood. And like kind of being in like strength in numbers is the way that I think we can kind of change the neighborhood for folks. This was last Friday. I made them wear these dumb antlers.
So cute.
Yeah. And I really think like they were such good sports. No, like everybody wanted to, but I really think it was being in this group that kind of gave them the confidence to celebrate and have some fun. You think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you guys wear it while you walked?
Yes.
Awesome.
We're like going through Oppenheimer Park, and everybody was high-fiving us. And
That's one thing too, I guess, about the strength in numbers. Like, people notice when the group goes by, and it does but it's like a friendly, we had quite a few people commenting on those, the antlers, and so it creates like a different feeling when you're walking too, right, in the group. This is you.
So these are my sons and my niece. You can't see their faces. This is, this is me. So the Women's Warrior Group has been an amazing place where I've become more outgoing and opened my comfort zone. I wouldn't have ever done this before. This is the first time ever talking in front of a whole bunch of people. It's awkward, different. I don't know.
Do you want to talk about the day?
Yeah, so this picture is at Crab Park. I bring my kids this day. I think it was a Pro D day.
it must have been.
It must have been a Pro D day. And my son always asks about coming back. He tries to skip school. He's 8 years old, and his favorite thing. There was a helicopter taking off at this point, so they were all busy watching this, and I snapped a photo, and it happens to be my favorite picture. I have it on my phone, on my screensaver, so I look at it every day. And another experience we had with the walking group is we went on a walk with Forest and the Femme. It was amazing. It was so informative. It was just beautiful. And then we walked around the park. I can't remember what the park was called. Do you remember?
We were in North Van and Kate's.
Was that Kate's Park? No, I don't think I went to
Kate's, or it was
we also
maybe
went.
the one.
Oh, you went to the one that was at Maplewood Flats.
Maplewood Flats. That sounds more accurate. Anyway, and then, so we went around. She taught us so much about all this plant life. And then we had lunch by the water and made rose-infused honey and drank rose-infused lemonade that I didn't like. I tried it.
You tried it.
I tried it. I did not like it.
That would cost you like $13.
I know.
It was here on campus.
It was insane.
Yeah, so Forest, sorry, I don't mean
Yeah.
So Forest and the Femme is one of the organizations that already exist in the downtown Eastside. So Jamie runs this sort of nonprofit organization, and she takes women who live in the downtown Eastside out hiking and in different locations. So we actually partnered with Forest and the Femme and supported her financially to come and run groups for us. So she took small groups of women on 6 to 8 sessions.
I think we did 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
so
a
2
long time.
months. So she was able to take groups of women, and her knowledge of the outdoors was just phenomenal.
Amazing.
So,
Like, she tells you things you don't even know. The whole time.
So with some of our funding, we were able to provide folks with tank tops. Lisa's proudly wearing hers.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And we also were able to get women new Nike running shoes and things like sports bras, socks, and underwear. And like I fully expected people to take off with the shoes, but it like fills me up when I see folks running like around the building with their tank tops and shoes on. Yeah. So what Michelle was kind of saying is we can be, we've had groups as big as like 23, 25. So we can be quite a spectacle as we're moving through the neighborhood, and I watch as people look like what's going on. And I really see this as a message of resiliency to the community, that that there are happy, healthy, strong families here. I really see it as a reclamation of the neighborhood and of land and space. I don't know if you want to
Thank you.
check. Okay.
How do you mention the wording?
Yeah, we were talking about wanting to talk to. This is Railtown Cafe in the background. We're talking about.
There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
oh, that's weird. Yeah. Talking to them about like, you know, maybe they should set up a nice lemonade stand for us. Something as we walk by. Yeah.
sponsor our walk.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that's kind of come up in conversations and also in our 3 and 6 month follow-ups has been around friendship. And so many women say they come to hang out with friends and be with friends. And we've also watched some really unlikely friendships develop that I didn't really know were happening, but I kind of heard from the women, from these guys. Yeah, that kind of social reconnection has been, I think, something I didn't really anticipate happening, but has been probably, I think, will be the most like fruitful.
Yeah, I guess that's what we were talking about, was that you hear a lot of, or I guess in one woman in particular was telling me that she starts to self-isolate when she's like either her anxiety is flaring up or her like PTSD, and she said that the walking group, just knowing that there's other women that are going to be there, it's like forced her, because she usually comes. So she said in the past I would have just stayed at home and I wouldn't have gotten out, but knowing that it's going to be there and that everyone's going to be there, she's made the effort to come out. She said it's really helped her to realize that there's like to take those steps, to continue taking those steps when she does have problems come up. So I think that was pretty cool to hear that as well.
And I think that's such great, like, to think about medicine in that way, like being in a group of friends or peers, that's medicine for people. Being by the water, like this is only one of our routes that we go to Crab Park, but every time we go there, we always sit there for at least a couple of minutes, like let the kids kind of run around on the dock. Mm-hmm. And the moms sit. Some just kind of sit and take photos. Some sit and talk and we laugh. But like being by the water, that's medicine. Being by the trees, that's medicine. Like getting you kind of out of that city mindset. And like moving your body, that's medicine too, right? So when we heard that, a lot of the times in our office, like when women come in, they're kind of like, well, my doctor told me to, start doing something, start exercising, start doing something for my anxiety, for my PTSD, things like that. But it's so hard to do that all on your own. So this group kind of encompasses so many elements of that, right? So.
Yeah. And these aren't friends, these are family. There's a mother and her 2 daughters and Robin. But it's pretty cool to be able to see those kind of different generations happening. yeah, I think around the same thing, the program also facilitates this kind of connection to nature and offers moments of mindfulness and kind of calm from the chaos of appointments. And it's just an hour carved out just to be kind of in the moment. And then, yeah, it's a new kind of opportunity to introduce families to new parks and spots around the neighborhood. There's 12 units upstairs in Crabtree Corner, so we have new moms that are often coming out of First Square, and they might not know anything about the neighborhood, and you kind of get so isolated in that postpartum period, and so we have a lot of the people that attend often are living upstairs, and they kind of roll out in their PJs and grab coffee and come out with us. So it's been great to kind of teach them about the positive things in the neighborhood, some of the good things in the neighborhood. This is from kind of a special event with Forest and the Femme when we went to Lynn Canyon Suspension Bridge. The three at the back were super scared to do it. You can see they're kind of white-knuckled. But they did it, and they did such a good job. And I think, again, bringing it back to this idea of the group, they can conquer some of these fears. So we've done monthly intros to different activities. The women said early on that's something that they kind of wanted, and we really wanted to draw on services and organizations that were already running in the neighborhood. So we've done yoga, boxing, hiking with Forest and the Femme. We did a fitness class at our sister organization, Because We Care, just down the street on the balcony.
Partnered with Vancouver Street Soccer.
And
their clientele is typically men, and they've been wanting to target more women to try and create some sustainable games for women as well. So that was a really great partnership. Yeah,
and we're hoping in the new year to do some more dancing, like hip hop dancing, powwow dancing. So our first partnership was with Eastside Boxing, and it's been very successful. We've gone back to them 3 times, and they're actually tomorrow kickstarting their own program that's free for women in the community, and they're providing snacks and childcare kind of based on how we're doing it. So
we supported them in submitting a grant as well to create that piece. And they decided to offer it on Thursdays so that women who attend our programming on Tuesdays and Fridays could also attend that as well. So,
this was 420.
Was it really?
So yeah. Get your workout in.
I see.
And then we partnered with Yoga Outreach this fall. We did 8 weeks of yoga, and all of their instructors are trained in trauma-informed yoga, so offering lots of choice and accessible options. We did a lot using the wall, and I think they were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you liked it?
Really understanding of other people.
Didn't
say, you have to do this. Do this if you can.
Yeah.
It was very open and very just laid back.
Yeah. So laid back, somebody fell asleep.
Yes.
But getting down on the ground for that first time can be super challenging. So being in a group, people are told to do it at home, but being in a group really facilitates this opportunity to be kind of confident. And then, this is from one of our trips with Forest and the Femme. And she's amazing. She's doing really, really, really good work. And we were lucky to, I think, have had her for as much time as we did. And this was from our partnership with Street Soccer. We did it in August, Smogust. So that was kind of tricky. We were kind of learning lessons about weather and when people are going to want to come, and hopefully kind of coming back to street soccer in the new year, maybe indoors, something like that.
And they have a really great setup too. They have players from the team actually come and coach. So it's also community members like leading the programming, which is great.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking about that. I guess you have to be open to sort of making the mistakes. That's one thing that we've found while we're doing this program, is that the best lessons were learned sort of from the mistakes that we made.
Of course. He fusses every time you speak.
Now he's officially awake.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've tried to be prepared, but you really can't be. So we're kind of blundering through this and trying to be flexible and learning lessons.
I lost my.
I know.
Sorry.
But like, because we're running this for the first time, that these mistakes are what we need to guide us forward, and we're so lucky to have the relationships that we do with the participants as well as the advisory board. It's like such a relief, a load off, when we can kind of decide things as a team and move forward. So that made me feel better about all of the mistakes. Michelle made me feel better.
I think on that note too, with we've obviously learned a lot of lessons because we're partnering with so many different organizations with different sort of mandates and policies, but I think there's a really big opportunity for learning in the physical activity in downtown Eastside context, and I think people that are offering programming and services are really open to enhancing what they're doing. So tonight, for example, we're taking this show on the road. It's a little more focused, but we're actually doing a trauma and violence informed physical activity training session for folks at Eastside Boxing, because they are opening up the studio, and we've opened it to other organizations as well. So it will be sort of more specific examples of what organizations can do. Again, building all of the work by Colleen and colleagues with Equip, and really framing it within the physical activity and health promotion context. So we've learned a lot of valuable lessons in the mistakes, and everyone is okay.
And Robin, you said this too, like that the community connections that we've made, the more flexible they are, the more successful it's been. Like allowing folks to come late to things and not making a big deal about it, or not kind of, making it as accessible as possible have been the most successful. Thanks to all of you for having us today. I can't believe this has become my job. It's such a dream come true. Like, I get to hang out and laugh and play with these guys twice a week. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
So I was thinking, if anyone has anything to add, please do. But if there are any, because I want to be cognizant of the time too. So there's 10 minutes left in our official time slot. So if anyone has any questions for us, or if you want to stick around after and ask us anything, we're happy to. But do you guys feel comfortable with turning the floor?
Sure. Yeah.